Well, hello. How are you guys doing? Hope you are doing well. I'm hopping on here because I want to talk a little bit about a deep dive into prophetic reformation, into the prophetic ministry and what all that means. We've been working through some things for a number of years. Almost 20 years ago, I had this conversation with a friend of mine. We had a ministry school that John Paul had started up in New Hampshire, the Stream School of Ministry. And we were just talking through some of the dynamics that was going on and how being in that kind of a setting, living at a ministry and being in the charged atmosphere that we were in, how it kind of created a picture of what life was like and how we really needed a place for there to be a ministry school that was more applicable to living in a normal church setting, more applicable to working in a job, more applicable to raising a family and what was going on. We had a number of the students that were part of that school of ministry that after they were done, they went back to their churches and they just couldn't figure out how to handle it because we had so many crazy things going on. We were having people that were having encounters. They were having visitations of angels. There were miracles that were happening on a regular basis. Prophetic gifting just skyrocketed. And it was pretty normal in that period of time. There was so many gifted people that were a part of that community. We'd had people literally from all over the world. We had somebody from New Zealand, we had people from the UK, from Canada, from different places here in the United States that had all moved to this little town in New England. And we went after it. It was amazing. It was beautiful. It was glorious. But when people left that dynamic, especially the students that had come in, 20 somethings, and they'd been there for a year, some of them for a couple of years, and they went back to their churches, they were struck with the idea that it wasn't the same, that it was not like what they'd experienced up in New Hampshire at Stream's headquarters. And yeah, I was talking with my friend. We had a couple friends that had been part of a few of the other ministry schools that were rather popular, that had a lot of draw, and still some of them still have quite a bit of a draw. And how a very similar thing happened. They get into this dynamic where there's so much charged atmosphere and so many things going on. Then they just don't know how to integrate that into life so that it becomes a part of how they live, instead of this idol of, wow, this was amazing. And if it's not like this, then God must not be in it. And so, how do you create a school that allows people to go deep into the things of God and yet be people that can hold down a job, that can be in a business meeting and be able to be accepted, that would be able to sit in a city council meeting or in a government meeting of some kind and be able to hold a conversation and be able to share what they're getting without, what's the word I'm looking for, without sounding like they're holier than thou. How can we make them understand what it's like to minister, not just in a conference and in a church setting, but actually minister in everyday life? And through that discussion, a few of us, a few of my friends that had gone through that ministry school, a few of my friends that were around that, myself, having been a part of helping in a form of pastoral leadership for that ministry school, being on staff at Streams, we started talking through some of those dynamics. And that was 2007 that we were having those conversations. And I've never let those conversations go. They've been something that has been part of this thing growing inside of me for a number of years. And I have, through those conversations and through a couple decades now of experience, I've learned a few things that I think are going to be able to allow someone to really go deep, but also be able to do this in a church environment, in a work environment, in a worldly environment, and not have to deconstruct their faith because things were so different than what they expected, because everybody that they're around is not walking out onto the streets and seeing miracles every few minutes, but they're actually living out, in some of them not even sure if there is a God. And how do we relate to those kind of people and minister to them practically in a way that is not offensive? So all of that study, all of those conversations, the things that I've learned, the thousands, hundreds at least of conversations that I've had since then in countries around the world, have led to the development of something. And we are starting the second phase of this. It's something we call Streams Academy. We've actually been doing a form of Streams Academy for a few years, and I knew that it was the early form, that it was a way to kind of get the material developed, get the teaching developed, to begin to engage with it with students, make sure that it was giving all of the things that we wanted to give, that it was communicating well, that it was actually carrying an impartation, that it was seeing change in people's life, that it was watching them go to another level in their relationship with their Lord, in their prophetic gifting, in their ability to minister. And we now have about 5 years of track. Four years. I think we started in 2020 was when we started. So we're in our fifth year right now, of a track record of many students that have gone through this in a lot of different places, and the feedback that we've received and the testimonies that we've received of how this has changed lives. And we're ready to start the next phase of this. And the next phase of this is going to be an in-person ministry school. And it's not a full-time ministry school on purpose. Remember what I was talking about? How do we make this practical? How do we help to bring application of these things into life? And so a lot of our students are going to be people that have jobs, that have families, that have uh, other types of responsibilities. They're interacting in the world, but they want to know how to operate in prophetic gifting in such a way that they can transform people's lives around them. And so the studies themselves, we're going to go in depth into prophetic ministry. One of the themes that we have is that prophetic ministry is so much more than what people have realized. Often, when you mention prophetic ministry, one of the first things that people think of is this idea of someone giving somebody a personal prophetic word. And that there is an aspect of prophetic ministry that is a valid aspect of prophetic ministry, but it's also a small percentage of what prophetic ministry often is. Sometimes we have this idea of giving these predictive prophecies about what's going to be happening in the world, or what's going to be happening in a country, or what's going to be happening in an election, or things like that. Something that is, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Current news. That's the words that I was looking for. And there's an aspect of prophetic ministry that fits, but there's so much more. When you start taking a real deep dive look at prophetic ministry in scripture, there's a significantly larger understanding of what that actually means and how to live that out. And so we explore that. We draw on the wisdom of the desert fathers that went out into the wilderness in the 4th and 5th century, clear into the 7th and 9th century. They continued in different places, that really went after the deeper things of God. And they learned principles that are important, and there's application that we can bring into our lives. We take a look at the history of many of the contemplative writers, the mystics from church history that have written about visions and experiences, people like Saint Teresa of Avila, people like Madame Guyon, and we take a look at things from John of the Cross and different ones, Thomas à Kempis, learning lessons that we can have about this deeper life, about this union with God, and what that looks like practically, what that looks like for our prayer life, what that looks like in our community, and then how to bring it into places that do not yet know God. We're going to go deep into historical theology, because if we don't have a foundation in scripture and we don't really know what scripture says, we do not actually have what is necessary to be able to discern what is true prophetic and what is false prophetic. We're going to talk about what soulish prophecy is and how to recognize it, and what the path of a false prophet is and how to recognize that, how to avoid that. And we're going to go deep into these things. We're going to develop the idea of the spiritual life, not just in prayer and contemplation, that's going to be a piece of it, but the walk of love, and what does it actually mean to be in an emotionally healthy community. I've spent a lot of time having conversations, engaging with the work of Pete Scazzaro and his work on emotionally healthy discipleship. And that is going to be part of our recommended reading, some of our resources, but some of the things that I developed working with his team on emotionally healthy prophetic, we're going to be training and equipping people in. We're going to talk about how to develop rhythms in our life so that we stay engaged with God and we stay engaged with those that are closest to us, our family, those that we love, as well as the community around us in outreach and in service. How does this work in evangelism settings? But it's all going to be built not just on the teaching, because there's going to be teaching pieces, but it's going to be built on a mentoring model. We've been trying to do a form of mentoring with our Streams Academy right now that we do online, what we're calling Streams Academy Audit. It gives all the resources. You can watch the videos and you have some Q&A time with different mentors, with different teachers. And there's a level that that does, and it's good, but there's so much more that we can do in person. So for diploma, we're going to be meeting twice a week on Tuesday nights and on Wednesday nights. And we're going to be worshiping together. We're going to be praying for one another. We're going to be doing prophetic exercises, seer exercises, ministry exercises. Some of the teachings we're going to teach on deliverance. We're going to teach on inner healing, but people get to practice it, because we're not just trying to give information. We're trying to help people transform their lives. Because if we can transform our lives and transform the way that we see the world, then we're going to be more effective in transforming the world around us. So there's going to be practical, hands-on opportunity to use what people are learning to really grow. And this is going to develop this understanding, and it's going to give opportunity where there's going to be small groups that people work with, and they're able to take, okay, so this is what I ran into. I had this picture, and it was from my boss, and I went and told him what the picture was, and he did not like it. He told me to keep my religion at home or else I'd lose my job. What do I do? Well, let's talk about how did you communicate that? What was the way? Did you communicate the picture itself? Did you communicate what it meant? We'll talk through and actually get into the details of how to apply this stuff in ways that we're not able to do in a classroom, in a conference, in a seminar, because there's just not enough time. This is not going to be a quick program. It's going to be 2 years. It's going to require time, not just in the classroom. It's going to require time watching the teaching videos outside of the classroom, so our classroom time can be spent practicing them and discussing them and applying them to our lives. There's going to be book reports that are going to be a part of it. There's going to be essays. There's going to be grading to make sure that people actually understand it, but not just on the knowledge, also on the practical. When we do a teaching on deliverance, one of the requirements that part of the homework is going to be to go and cast a demon out of someone and bring back a report. How did that work? What was it like? One of the homeworks that we're going to have is cultivating a prophetic word through intercession and prayer for a person or a family over a 2 to 3 week period, where you develop the word, where you grow the word, you develop what it means, what the revelation was, what the interpretation is, what the application is, and then how to communicate it. And then we're actually going to have someone go with the person when they communicate it and give them feedback to help them get better, be more effective in this ministry. Our focus really is on prophetic ministry. That's going to be a major focus right now for Streams Academy for our first 2 year program. But we're going to go much deeper with that as we continue in the future. We've already had somebody that's offered to develop a program for coding, computer coding, and that's I mean, we'll take a look at what are those possibilities. We have people that are interested in creativity. We actually have been praying through and starting the conversations for a worship school and what that might look like. All of that is going to be in the future, but right now we're starting out with 2 programs. They're going to run simultaneously, and the second program is actually it's the same as the first program with a little bit of extra work. The first program is the prophetic and revelatory studies. It's a deep dive into the prophetic, deep dive into the spiritual life and what that looks like I just described. The second is going to be a diploma in biblical dream interpretation. Now, I know many of you are really interested in biblical dream interpretation. We've done a lot of work in developing that material. We've got the training and the equipping that's there. One of the things that's going to really take this to the next level is the fact that people that are part of that program, they're going to be in a special cohort of dream interpreters where they're going to get to work on dream interpretation, get feedback on dream interpretation, and practice it over time. There's going to be a special summer school, a week-long internship, which we've done before, and we're going to open it up. We'll invite people that are not part of the school, but all those that are part of this program will be able to be a part of it, where we'll spend a full week and just go 40 hours during that week going into dream interpretation, practicing, talking about, praying about, experiencing, Q&A, all of that, where there's feedback, where there's an ability to be mentored in this gift. And then people that are able to prove that they have learned the skills and they're able to interpret dreams. They're able to understand the dreams and be able to communicate them. Now, nobody can interpret every dream that they get. So it's not going to be every dream, but there's going to be a demonstration of a capacity that they've actually received an impartation. And people that are able to do that, we're going to give a diploma in biblical dream interpretation. Now, these diplomas, these are not accredited with a college, but we do have permission from the Texas Department of Education to offer these 2 diplomas, an Associate of Science in Prophetic and Revelatory Studies and a Associate of Science in Biblical Dream Interpretation. Now you can see right on the screen, we have a website that's there, thestreamstraining.com. That's where you can go if you want to get some more information, if you want to learn more about what this is. It's going to be an opportunity for people to really grow in their spiritual life. Now, we've had people that have been Christians for 50 years that have gone through Streams Academy and in the prophetic movement, in if the revival movement, if you will, they've been around the things of the Spirit. They have been on the mission field. They've seen miracles, healings. They've heard the voice of God. And they've come back with comments about how beneficial, how this took some of the things that they understood, took it a little bit further than what they had, to explain things that they were trying to understand, that it was able to really mature them and give them a broader foundation for that gifting. So it's not just for people that are new to the prophetic. This is a deep dive into the things of the spirit, which is why I called this a deep dive into prophetic and revelatory studies, because that's really what we are offering. And you may or may not be able to come, because this, for the deep dive, for the diploma version of this, it's going to be in person only here in Texas, in DFW. It's going to be in the Streams Ministries headquarters. We're going to have 2 semesters each year. The first one is going to start in September and end of December. The second one is going to start in January of 2026. It's going to go through April. So there's going to be those two, and then we're going to start again in September. So there's going to be a nice long summer break. That's when we will have our week-long dream internship that people that are part of the dream diploma will be able to go to. But it's you're going to have to be able to be here, because right now, for the online version, the distance version, what we have is the audit. You get all the same training, but we don't have the capacity right now to be able to offer the full experience as a distance learning. So maybe you have had a desire to move to Dallas. There's a lot of people that are moving to the area. This is an opportunity. It is going to be in the Dallas. So Rosalinda was just asking, is this going to be in Texas? Yes, it's going to be right here in the DFW area. Right now, our offices are in Louisville, so really close to the DFW airport, just a little bit on the north side, a little bit closer to the Dallas side of things, but easy to get to from a variety of places in the Metroplex. We're right on one of the major freeways. So as long as the traffic is not too crazy, which depends on what time of day it is, you're going to be able to get here at a decent period of time in the DFW area. We want to invite you to start praying about it. Maybe you know somebody that this is going to be a great opportunity. Maybe they're not able to do a full 2-year program, but maybe you know somebody that is going to have a gap year and they want to really sow into their spiritual life and get a foundation and be able to grow and be around some fathers and mothers that really are going to sow into them and grow them. Or maybe you know somebody that is working, but they're able to take some time off. They're able to have the evenings, the Tuesday night and Wednesday night, where they're able to be here in person. Whoever that may be, let them know that this is available. If you can help us get the word out, we want to let a bunch of people know. And we know there's, right now there's only a handful of people that are actually on this live stream. And I know how that works. We're not interpreting dreams, so we don't have as many people that are joining us live. But some of you are going to be watching this over the next period of time. When you are when you get a chance, share this video. Let somebody know about it. Those of you that are on here, if you like this video, if you comment on this video, it's going to increase the algorithm. It's going to let people know about it. More people will be able to see this. If you go to this URL that's on the screen right now, streamstraining.com, it'll redirect you right to our Streams Ministries website. But it'll be the page that talks about Streams Academy and the different ways that you're able to engage. And you can look at all the details. And there's a place on there, contact form. If you have any questions, ask us. We would be more than happy to answer those questions. We want to provide an opportunity for people to really mature and grow in their spiritual gifting. And this is one of the ways that we're going to do it. Now, what does this go towards? Like, what's the goal of this? Well, my goal is part of this. It was a prophetic word that was given to me a number of years ago when I was told by somebody that's pretty well known in the prophetic that I was called to raise up an army that was going to go out with evangelism into the marketplace and see people healed. The goal of this is to equip people. And it doesn't matter if somebody is called to ministry, somebody that's called to prophetic ministry, this is going to get you started. There are things that I learned from spending a dozen years with John Paul Jackson, having gone through all of his courses, and a lot of conversations when I started out in itinerant ministry, the wisdom that I've been able to glean, that's there. And then things that I've learned from study, things that I've learned from my own experience, from talking to hundreds of pastors around the world about their experiences with prophetic. There's going to be benefit for people that are called to prophetic ministry. One of the things that I also know is that we're in a season where it is time to start planting new churches. There's a new church movement there's an invitation that is out there for churches to be planted that are about the presence of God, that make room for God to be the leader, that are actually paying attention to his voice to set the tone, that are around the presence of God, and that have real community and actually know family and have real mentoring and discipling that happens within that community. We want to be a part of fostering those kinds of churches. And so people that are interested in that and they feel like there's a calling for them to get ordained, this is going to be one of the steps towards being ordained with Streams Ministries for people that want that and that we recognize the calling of God. And we're very careful with ordination. We don't just ordain anyone, but when we recognize that God has called someone and God has put something on someone, and that's a similar vision to what we have, this whole thing of the nature of God, the presence of God, character over gifting, the voice of God being primary, when we recognize that there is a connection there, we want to do whatever we can to help those people be successful in ministry. But this is not just for people that are called to that kind of ministry, because there are people that are business owners, people that maybe they don't own a business, but they work in business in different ways, and they need to be more equipped to be able to hear the voice of God for what they're doing in business, but even more importantly, for their family, for their friends. This could be for the house moms and the house dads that are trying to raise up children that hear God and they want to know how to develop a culture within their home that fosters the voice of God, that fosters an attention to his presence. That's going to be that we want to help people that are called into the media realm. You know, we talk about in the church, we often talk about different spheres. It's not that there's so many different spheres that we're trying to figure out how to be at the top of, but everybody has a unique call. Somebody is called to make cabinets and make them for the glory of God. They need to be equipped so that the people that they're interacting with and what they're doing, that it's anchored in the voice of God, that they know who they are and they're able to minister the kingdom. And when they run into somebody that they build a cabinet for that's dealing with cancer, how to lay hands on them and see them get healed, how to give an encouraging prophetic word, how to understand a new design, a new way of doing cabinets that nobody's ever discovered because the voice of God spoke into it. It doesn't matter what the call is, everybody should be equipped to expand the kingdom wherever they are at. And that's what this is about. This is about raising up an army, not just the elite, but those that are going to carry this message of the kingdom into wherever they find themselves, into every relationship they find themselves, into every sphere they find themselves, into whatever nation they find themselves, whatever business, whatever school, whatever home they find themselves, and able to know how to respond to the invitations of God to see him break in and change the world around them. So, I am really excited if you have not noticed that already. This has been, like I said at the beginning, 18 years, almost 20 years of prayer has gone into this time, and we're starting to see it happen. Applications are open right now. If you're interested, check the link, fill out an application. We're not going to, we want to make sure that we're helping the right people. So not everybody that puts in an application is necessarily going to be able to come. We want to make sure that it's the right time and the right place for you. So there's going to be an application. There will be a conversation where we'll get together and we'll talk about the call of God that's on your life, because we want this to be a relational learning dynamic. It's not going to be one of those places where you're only watching someone on the screen. This is going to be where we're having meals together, where we're talking, we're worshiping together, we're praying with one another, and we have a community here that is excited to mentor a group of people that are looking to hear God better. So, if you are interested in that, or if you know anybody that's interested in that, please let them know. Let them know they can watch this video. We're going to be doing more videos about this. We're going to do our best to get this communication out there, let as many people know as we can. So as that happens, let people know, and we'll see what God does with this. I have really high expectations. Some of the things that I believe that he's promised, I cannot wait to see. It's going to be good. So I know, let me see. I'm just going to look at some of these comments. And if you have any questions, please put in some of your questions. Esto, I really want to do the training. Well, put in an application. We'll see if that's going to work out for you guys. That would be fun. Um, See a lot of people that seems to be excited for this. Kim, thank you for the congratulations. That's awesome. Well, very cool. Well, if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comments. I'll hold on for just a second. Uh, if you are just curious what it might look like, we're going to do a couple of these things. We're calling them tasters, academy tasters. Just the idea of trying it out and getting a feel for what it might be like. So, at our two conferences that we have coming up, the Prophetic Reformation Source and Prophetic Reformation Reset, that's going to be in April and May, both of those on the Sunday afternoon. We're going to have a little bit of time where I'm going to share a little bit of the vision of this. We're going to have previous students of the audit version. Some of those were here live when I was teaching the courses live before we started doing the video version of them, and so they have some experience. They're going to be able to answer questions. We're going to minister to people. We'll do some prophetic activations. Just give you a little bit of feel of what it's like and some of the community that's going to be around. So both of those conferences on the Sunday afternoon, there's going to be a taster. Even if you don't come to the conference, you're welcome to come to that. All that information is going to be on our website, streamsministries.com. And we're going to do another one in June where we're going to have a Wednesday night. We're just going to open it up. So anybody that wants to come will be able to do that. So let's take a look at a couple of these questions. So Graceful Oak, what about those who have children? Would they be able to be there, or would we have to find some kind of child care? Yeah, right now you would have to find some kind of child care. We don't have the capacity here to be able to have children here while we're doing this. We don't have the people that would be able to give them the care that they need. So yes, child care is not provided for the courses. That's a good question. Um, let's see, Cheryl, what does building relationship look like in the training? So when we get together in person, we're going to be having small groups. We're calling them cohorts. but it'll be groups of 4 or 5 people that will have specific, they'll work together on some of the homework, on some of the pieces. They will be praying for one another. We'll be in a larger group. So everybody that is going to be a part of the program, we get together, we'll worship together, we'll do prophetic activities. But you'll have these smaller groups where you'll be able to develop relationships with a few other people. And we'll switch out those groups each semester so you get to grow, know some more people, so you can actually develop good relationships with some, and then you can continue those relationships while you're building relationships with others. So you'll be a part of a couple different cohorts as we go through. But there will also be people that have already gone through the courses that are going to be here, and a couple of leaders. So myself, Manda Lamson, who's our worship leader, she's one of the team. Kathy Cervantes, who has gone through every time we've ever done Academy, but she's on staff here as well. She's going to be our provost, so she's kind of overseeing student experience, and she is a relationship builder. So she will be making sure people connect, making sure nobody gets left out. She is really, really good at that. But she's also going to be helping with some of the mentoring. Jack Ledbetter, which is a father in our house, he's been around for, he's been a friend of ours for a while, but he's been in the things of God and pursuing God for a number of years. If you've watched any of our Sunday services, you might have seen him preach a couple times. Daniel Burton, who is our associate pastor of training and equipping, he's also going to be a part of the team, and I'm going to be there on a regular basis. Um, because of life and travel and different things, any of us, we may not, every single one of us, be at every meeting, but we will all be at most of those meetings. So you'll get to spend time. Um, Bianca is wondering, will this be available online? So we have all of the teaching portions available online. So if you go to the URL, which is now back on the screen, the streamstraining.com, if you go there and look for where it says audit, you'll be able to see the online version, and it's going on a regular rotation. So we have first year, it just continues. There's a module every 2 months. And during that 2 months, there will be 4 online mentoring times. So it'll be Zoom mentoring, where somebody that has knows that material, I'm on at least once every module. And we have other people we've got some friends from UK, some from South Africa, and then some from here in Dallas that also help with that mentoring. And they will just ask questions, they'll answer questions, do some discussion with any of the students. So that is the online version of it. It's not going to offer the diplomas that are available with the in-person, and it doesn't have the testing that's going to be there, and it doesn't have all of the interactions, because online there's a very limited facility for that interaction, the prophetic activations, and that kind of more personal mentoring that happens in that dynamic. So it's that's why we call it audit. You're going to get the same teaching material, but it's not going to be the same level of experience, but it is available online for someone that is not able to be here in person. Do you have or plan to do any training with Portuguese subtitles? I'm from Brazil. We've had a desire. I've had a couple of different Brazilian congregations that's had me come in, and I thought doors were going to open up to get down to Brazil a couple different times, and it has not happened yet. We don't currently have that ability. Uh, we'll just see who the Lord brings. If the Lord brings the right person and they're able to make that happen, then we're going to give opportunity, but we're just going to have to wait and see who the Lord brings and if there's somebody that's going to be available for that. Ian is asking, are Tuesday and Wednesday nights the only times that are mandatory for the course, or are there other days? No, those are the weekly nights that are mandatory. There will periodically be an event that we have that will be highly recommended, not necessarily mandatory. But we will have, like, we have a conference that is set during the first semester, and all of the registrations for any events that we're having here at Streams are included in the school. So the conference is that's already included. So all the students will be registered for the conference. Highly recommended. We haven't decided to make it mandatory. If we were to do an Art of Hearing God or an Understanding Dreams and Visions, again, that would be the same thing. It would be highly recommended, but not mandatory. So the mandatory is the Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Maurice, for someone who thinks they've had an increase in dream interpretation and seemingly of a prophetic undercurrent, would this be beneficial for them? This calls out to me a bit. I would say 100%, because you're going to be able to be around other interpreters. You're going to be in an environment where that dynamic happens. Dream interpretation is much like learning a language. Like, there's some basics that you can learn by study and a little bit of practice. But if you've ever learned a new language, one of the best ways to really develop that language is do what they call language immersion program, where you just immerse yourself in a place where that language is what's spoken. And it just jumps your learning in that language. It takes it, what's the word, propels, that's what I'm looking for. It propels it to the next level very, very quickly. So this is going to be kind of like a language immersion course for people. It's going to be an opportunity to really go deep. You're going to be around a bunch of people that are going after the prophetic, that are going after dream interpretation, and be around people that have a history in that are going to be able to mentor you. I was with a friend one time, and he was teaching me fly fishing. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's not an easy thing to learn how to cast. And I was practicing on the side before I tried to cast out into the water. And he comes up to me and he goes, You've heard them say that practice makes perfect, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's not true. Practice makes permanent. You need to have good habits, because if you practice bad habits, you will make permanent those bad habits. And this is an opportunity to recognize maybe the bad habits that we have, those things. Like, if I hadn't have been around other dream interpreters that were beyond where I was at, that helped me, I don't know that I would be at the place in dream interpretation that I am. If I would have grown, it would have taken a lot longer for me to do so. So 100%, I believe this is going to be very helpful for, yeah, for anybody that is, growing in the prophetic, and especially growing in dream interpretation. It's going to be a great opportunity. Well, guys, thanks for joining in. Thanks for helping us get the word out there. Let people know. Take a look at the website. See if this is something. Start praying. Is this what God is calling you to do? And some of you, maybe you're not able to come, but you want to help somebody else come. We want to be able to offer scholarships for people, for that way that there's finances are never a reason why anybody can't come. So if you are interested, you can always help us out by providing scholarships for somebody that is not able to afford the whole amount. So if that's something you want to do, just contact us here at Streams. You can go to Streams. Well, if you go to streamstraining.com, up on the top, it'll have a little donate button. Make sure you put the comments, make sure that we know that it's for scholarship, and we will use that towards helping people to be able to take these courses. So, a lot of things coming on. I am really excited. You'll be hearing more about this. And if you have any other questions, just let us know. We want to be here to answer those questions. Bless you guys. Have an astounding day. And we will see you next time around. Take care.